Okay, Tom. Imagine you walking down the street and suddenly come face to face to a younger version of yourself at the moment you decided to run an ultramarathon. What would you say to the younger Tom?
I think I would say, are you sure? My name is Tom. I just ran 140 kilometers, but that's not the story we're going to tell.
J'attendrai que retombe la poussière et ma voix. J'attendrai que fonde l'hiver.
I'm not gonna lie, there's so many times earlier today where I was like, there's no way I'm finishing this. Absolutely no way. Oh fuck, 12 k's is so far. Oh, can you put my jacket up?
Getting carried with the guy is only 7, man. It's a small run on the Lugo Mare now.
I've never got to see this.
100%.
So for me, I think running has always been a part of my life. My dad's always been a runner, and so I've always grown up seeing that. And then in school in South Africa, we do a lot of running, and I think I've always taken to it as one of my sports that I enjoy. But then when I got to university, I started to sort of find running with friends enjoyable. And
At what point of with your training you were when you said, okay, I can do one of these?
I hadn't even ever run over 21 kilometers. I'd never done more than a half marathon. And then I think I just saw some videos of ultras, specifically of the 100-miler distance. And I think the concept of that just blew my mind. And it was just sort of slowly increasing my weekly mileage. Finally running a 25-kilometer long run on the weekend and being like, okay, that wasn't too hard, that's manageable. To eventually then running my first marathon. And then sort of halfway through that year, I ended up running my first ultra race, which was a 50-kilometer trail race back in South Africa. And that went horribly. I had no nutrition plan. I cramped after like 20 kilometers. But I finished, and I finished much slower than I'd intended, but I finished.
To go back 1 second to the moment you said, okay, I'm gonna do this huge, massive run. What were the barriers that you encountered at the beginning?
When it came to running, I think it was a distance I had no understanding of how I could train for it. I knew would be achievable because I had seen it was achievable for other people, and for me that was enough of a reason to be like, okay, I can do that for sure then. But it was just trying to understand how I could realistically do that, because obviously with running you can be a decent runner at 10 kilometers, 15 kilometers, 20 kilometers, but a 50, 70, 80, 100 kilometers is another story. But it was just, I had the confidence that if I set my mind to it, I could get there and I could do it.
We are talking about a total of more than 1 year of preparation, basically.
It's been about 2 years of pretty consistent running. Yeah.
And I guess also a lot of those hours running were done by yourself. So how was it to spend all this time with yourself?
Yeah, a lot of it is by myself, but also luckily with the community we've now created with Passo Passo and the run club, it's it's been a really nice thing for me to have at least 2 of my runs a week running with other people. The weekend long runs are solo adventure in a sense through Puglia.
What's one of the main takeaway of this process of all this time that you spend with yourself?
Originally what I thought this long distance running and this endurance running would do would be giving me the opportunity to just explore Puglia, explore my environment, explore nature, and explore the trails here that I just hadn't been able to see and hadn't been able to access. But as you say, a lot of it then was done alone. And I think when you do these long runs alone and these long hours alone, you end up exploring so much of yourself, more than just actually only exploring your environment. And I think that was something I didn't really realize I was going to get from this. And I think it's been something that's actually been so important to me and been such a big part of this journey for me.
What was the most difficult conversation that you had with yourself?
I think I'm at a point in my life where I'm again going to experience a lot of change and sort of realizing the uncertainty I have in front of me, of where I'm going to go, what I'm going to do. And so I think this training block specifically has given me a lot of time to ask myself those big questions of what's important to me. What do I need to prioritize in this next step? What do I need to make sure is constant for me in my life when everything else around me changes?
Let's now get into the race.
Yeah.
Do you want to go a little bit like phase by phase? How was it?
Yeah. So the race, I think this race you could break it down into sort of like 3 sections for me. The first night section, the day, and then the second night section. And I think that first night section was a real test for all the runners. We had rain from the beginning, which just made the trails absolutely, a mud fest. The last section was crazy, but we're doing good. And getting through to the next morning was, for me at that point in time, just the only goal. It's been raining pretty much since the beginning. We've stopped now the last hour, but yeah, the trails are just absolutely diabolically muddy. So heavy shoes, but nutrition's going well.
Were you having in your mind like just the final goal?
Mentally what I was doing was breaking it down into 8 stations. Like I just got to get through this 12-kilometer section, this 15-kilometer section, and from there I'll reset, I'll refuel, and we'll keep moving. If you keep focusing on the total, on the 140 kilometers, it just almost seems too big.
What was the process that you were noticing and managing into your mind, the way your mind was dealing with the pain?
What I've sort of had to try and learn is and I think what every sort of runner will have to learn is taking these warning signals your body is giving you, the pain that's coming from your legs, the discomfort that's coming from your gut, and understanding that those are warning signals, but you have so much more, and you've got to just keep pushing through them, and understanding that this low you're feeling physically, mentally, will change, because I think I heard it sort of before I started doing ultras, but I think it was something I never quite understood until I'd done them, is that during an ultra, you go to hell, but you come back, and then you go to hell and you come back again, and that just happens throughout the whole thing. You go to dark, low places in your sort of mental state and in your physical state, but really all it takes is a single conversation with some person on the trail to give you this boost, or just something you see at the aid station that actually sits well in your stomach, and you have that, and that energy just boosts you through the next section. So it's just understanding that what you're feeling in that moment is temporary, and you can get through it and you will get through it, but you've just got to keep moving, that's the key.
And now let's get to the finish line.
Yeah, it's a really strange thing for me, and I've experienced this in both my ultras, the big ultras that I've done. The finish line for me almost feels somewhat underwhelming at times, I think because it's just so exhausting getting there, and then when I reflect on it and I look back, I think it makes a lot of sense, to be honest, that it is something that's somewhat underwhelming, because that single moment is such a small part of the entire journey. You know, it really is a speck in the sand of what I've gone through and the whole process itself. You know, the whole build up to the race is so much longer than the race itself, and in that build up you go through as much difficulty in a sense, and you make sacrifices, you push through the training times you don't want to train. So I think the finish line for me is just like, okay, it's finished. But then when I get to look back, you get to see the whole journey, and you get to realize what you've gone through. Because I really do believe that when it comes to these big goals that you set in your life, and you set for yourself, these things that seem at times somewhat unachievable, the most important part of that process, and where I think the courage comes in and the brave part of all of this comes in, is starting, and is actually taking that first step towards that goal. You know, understanding I don't know exactly how I'm going to get there, but I'm going to work towards that, and I'm going to go in that direction. I'm going to take that step. I've never run anything over a half marathon, but I just decided this is what I wanted to do. There was something that called me towards it, and I took that first step. Yeah, I would say you've just got to start somewhere, because that really is all it comes down to, is taking where you are at and understanding how personally you can work towards that, and taking that first step, you know. And I think that no matter what journey it is in life, whether it's ultra running or, you know, working towards a career or anything, it's just taking that first initial step in the best possible way you can, that's going to sort of set you off in the right direction towards that goal. I think that's the key, and that's probably what I would emphasize. Yeah. The important thing is to start. Now we go on an adventure.